Hello once again my friends, and welcome to yet another PhilbertGreen painting video. As always, this isn't really a professional tutorial, but I hope it does help if you are following along at home. This time around, Raccoon City is suffering from a subterranean scourge. Yes, it's the big, nasty, straight out of Dune, the Gravedigger. Luckily for us, this one hasn't had time to grow to full size yet, rather it's just the smaller one from the Lonsdale Underpass. Just like my other videos, if you are following along at home, just take your time and go at a pace that you're comfortable with. As ever, we will be starting off by basing him with Mechanicus Standard Grey. First up, I used Zandri Dust to paint the bulk of the beast's body, taking care to avoid the bulging veins and any of the protrusions sticking out of the mass of flesh. As always, I thinned down my paints and applied at least 2 thin coats. With the body looking suitably wormy, I used Screamer Pink next to paint the area where his face should be, leaving the mandibles and smaller teeth to be done later. Speaking of, next up I used Rakarth Flesh to paint said mandibles and smaller teeth around his cavernous maw, which I painted using Khorne Red. If worms had feet, I'd wager that's what these things are. Using Corvus Black, I painted them and all of the bony looking protrusions poking through the flesh. Using Screamer Pink again, I carefully painted over the bulging veins that sculpted onto the mould of the Gravedigger's body. After covering up all my messy mistakes on the Gravedigger's body, it's time for the fun part, the washes. Firstly, I used Reikland Fleshshade to cover the whole body of our worm, veins and bony leg things, making sure I got into the recesses between body segments. The second wash I used was Seraphim Sepia, going over the body segments and avoiding the recesses this time. This added a yellower tone to the flesh to contrast with the darker Reikland. Finally, it's Agrax Earthshade's time to shine. This was used for the mandibles and teeth to bring out definition and make them look filthy like they've just been used to burrow out of the ground. The cool thing about this mini is that there is debris sculpted onto the base. I used 2 colours for the bricks, starting off with Mephiston Red, picking out bricks at random until about half of them were done. The rest of them I painted with Mournfang Brown to give the effect of different colours of brick so they didn't just look like one big solid colour. Using Agrax Earthshade again to get into the cracks between the bricks, I feel like this really brings out the definition and gets them looking like random debris that's just been flung about by the Gravedigger's emergence. After all that debris was done, I applied a heavy dry brush of Screaming Skull to it, for a double effect to look like the rough edging on bricks, as well as falling dust knocked loose by our wormy boy busting through. To make things way more difficult for myself, I decided right at the last moment to make things much harder and apply some definition to the mouth area. Using Pink Horror, I picked out some of the lumpier bits around his mouth just for a bit of variety. And of course, the very last step was our favourite Astrogranite Technical Paint, washed with Nuln Oil and lightly dry brushed with Celestra Grey basing technique. Only this time, trying to avoid the brick debris as well as the worm. As this bad boy is a mini boss in the board game, he gets the deadly black band around the base. And there you have it, the burrowing bastard himself, the mini Gravedigger, ready to rupture the ground in search of its prey and swallow our survivors whole. This guy was great fun to paint. The larger size of the mini compared to most of the ones I've done so far made it easy to do all of the smaller details. I did suffer one casualty however when I knocked over my entire bottle of Agrax Earthshade. Regardless of that, this guy looks fantastic and I'm really happy with the way he looks. This is also a good way to paint the massive Gravedigger that comes in the City of Ruin expansion as well, but don't fear, he will be getting his own video too. Once again, thank you all for watching this video, I really do appreciate it and I hope to see you all in the next one. Stay safe out there, survivors.